Record number of Australians have been scammed over the past year.
Yeah, it's a massive, more than $2 billion, according to the Consumer Watchdog.
Well, welcome back. You might think you'd be able to spot a scammer. Pensioner Michael thought he could, but they sucked him in with a carefully rehearsed phone call that sounded genuine. Then moments later stole almost $40,000.
Which is why Maureen can't comprehend how anybody could be so cruel and steal her life savings. $25,000 she'd saved to take her family on a cruise. All gone in 3 quick transactions.
That means if we don't get it back, my father has to sell his house to be able to pay the debt. How is that fair?
Through several months of phone calls and correspondence, George convinced Mrs. Spring to transfer $1.6 million.
There have been more than 35,000 reports of attempts to gain personal information in Australia since January. All up, cybercrime cost the economy an estimated $33 billion last year.
Right, here is the part your bank would rather you never worked out. Last year, 274,000 Australians were caught by a scam. Between them, $2.18 billion was wiped out of their accounts, just under $7,940 each. Your bank will give you back somewhere between $160 and $400 of it. Not because it cannot do better, because here it does not have to. And once it is gone, it is gone. Ask an 88-year-old pensioner in Queensland who was 1 digit away from keeping his house.
88-year-old Gordon Layton has every right to be angry. He thought he'd paid for his house, but he mistakenly paid the wrong person.
That's the sickening feeling when you realise that $71,500 of your father's is gone.
$71,400 sent from his account to a stranger's and cleared the same day. His family spotted it inside 3 hours. Both banks were told inside 3 hours. The money was withdrawn anyway. His own bank recalled the payment the following day, 24 hours later. By then, the account it had gone to was empty, and the man holding it simply said no. Gordon was left living in a shed behind the house he had already paid for. Both banks said they had followed their processes. That phrase is going to come back. Hold on to it.
The ACCC says the actual figure is more than $2 billion because, get this, 1 in 3 people don't report scams. That is often because they're so embarrassed, for example, with romance scams. And also, the ACCC says certain groups in the community are being targeted, more vulnerable people.
1 in 3 never tells anyone. Not the bank, not the police, not their own children. Because the feeling on the other side of a scam is not anger. It is shame. So treat $2.18 billion as the floor, not the ceiling. That figure came from 481,000 reports lodged across 5 separate agencies last year, and losses rose almost 8% on the year before. Here is the part that should make your blood run cold, though. It is not a number. It is a method.
Michael Walton has found that out the hard way.
This has ruined my Christmas.
The footy-mad retiree was bullied and manipulated into handing over close to $40,000.
They know the right questions, they get a feel for who they're talking to, and then they go for the jugular.
The call came to a landline in a retirement village. The man on the other end said he was from a telco and said the computer had a virus. Michael hung up. They rang back. They rang back 3 or 4 times until he stopped hanging up. Then $10,000 went out, then 13, then 16. One of his banks blocked a $20,000 transaction that same day as suspicious. The other did not and told him it was too late. 2 banks, same customer, same day. Same money leaving for the same overseas retailer. One system stopped it. One system did not.
Suddenly, Maureen had just $300 to her name.
I thought, how the heck am I going to pay my bills? So I thought, oh, I'll have to go begging, go with my bill in my hand and say, look, I'm sorry.
$25,000 saved over years to take her family on a holiday. Gone in 3 transactions, $4,500, then $9,950, then $9,950 again. Look at those last 2 figures. They are not random. They sit just under $10,000, which is the threshold that triggers a mandatory report. The people who took her money knew exactly where the line was and stayed underneath it. At 86, she was left ringing the people she owed money to and asking for extra time. She had never done that in her life, and she is one of more than 108,000 Australians who reported a scam in a single 6-month stretch. And if you are sitting there thinking you would never fall for it, the next one is for you.
Helen Googled Bendigo Bank and clicked on the first link she saw, a Google ad for her bank. That link opened a new web page that asked for her banking details. That web page was in fact a scam. In just a couple of minutes, $30,000 was drained from the business account.
She did not click a link in a text message. She did not answer a strange call. She typed her bank's name into a search engine, the single most ordinary thing anyone does online, and clicked the first result. $30,000 was drained in a couple of minutes. And the sting is this. Another customer of the same bank had reported that exact fake advertisement a month earlier. In the first 3 months of this year alone, Australians filed more than 60,000 scam reports and lost $248 million. You are not being outsmarted. You are being out-resourced.
It didn't sound dodgy in any way.
The real ING Bank wasn't involved in any part of the process, and Mrs. Spring says the money's now long gone. Her appeals for information have been unsuccessful. Others have similar sad stories.
The family home had just been sold. The mother was 95, in full-time aged care after a series of strokes. The daughter was handling the money. A man rang, offering good rates on a fixed-term deposit. Nothing outrageous, nothing that sounded too good to be true. Several months of calls and paperwork later, $1.6 million had moved. The bank whose name was used had nothing to do with any of it. ScamWatch alone logged $334 million in losses last year, and Australians over 65 reported the single largest share of it, $88.8 million. Why them? Why always them? A cyber safety lecturer at the University of Melbourne put it plainly.
Particularly the elderly or someone who's vulnerable and maybe not as computer savvy, they might be confused by what's going on their computer anyway, and so they kind of tie into that and use that as a way to gain access. Because the person probably needs help to maintain their machine anyway, they like to, if someone's offering them that help, they take them up on it.
It is not bad luck, and it is not confusion. It is selection. Australians aged 65 and over make up about 17% of this country's population. They account for 26.5% of all scam losses reported to ScamWatch. That is not a small skew. It means that if you are over 65, you are carrying roughly 1.5 times the loss your share of the population would predict. And it is not because older Australians are gullible. It is because older Australians are the ones holding the money, the sale proceeds, the retirement lump sum, the account that has 40 years of work sitting in it. Which is exactly why the smartest version of this is not aimed at the careless. It is aimed at the careful.
Last year, Ron was looking for a stable investment to help fund the couple's retirement. He was intrigued by an Australian company, Global Investment Marketing, known as GIM Trading.
Well, it looked like what you would expect on a website that is a professional financial dealer.
He was a former mining executive, an experienced investor. He was not chasing a miracle return. He was buying government and corporate bonds, which is the single most conservative thing a retiree can do with a lump sum. And he checked. He checked the one thing everybody is told to check: whether the company held an Australian financial services license. It did. What he could not see is that it did not own that license. For 4 months, it was renting one from another company. $800,000 went out in 5 payments. $50,000 came back. Investment scams took $837 million from Australians last year, more than every other category combined. So the checks did not save him. And here is where the story stops being about criminals at all.
2 great big banks earn a ton of money every year for their stakeholders. Little old pensioner makes a mistake and they've thrown their arms in the air and said, we can't help you. I think that's wrong.
Don't want the money to come to me. I want the money to come to the people that transferred the house up to here.
That is the sentence this whole story turns on, so let me put a number against it. In 2023, the corporate regulator ran a full audit of the 4 major banks. Their customers had reported more than $550 million of scam losses in a single financial year. The banks paid back between 2 and 5% of it. Some form of compensation was paid in around 11% of cases. And the regulator found something worse than the number. Whether you got anything back depended largely on whether you knew to lodge a formal complaint. Not on whether you were robbed, on whether you knew the paperwork. Everyone who did not know simply watched the money disappear and was told the matter was closed.
Andrew alleges his fund Energy Super rolled his money over without his knowledge after being tricked by the scammers. The scammers submitted forged forms which had his old address and a fake bank statement, resulting in his life savings being paid into a Westpac account that wasn't his.
Forged signatures, forged Justice of the Peace stamps, a recorded phone call of a stranger ringing his fund, pretending to be him and being told his balance. His fund refused to reimburse him. The Complaints Authority sided with the fund, finding it had acted in line with industry guidelines. And this is not one rogue fund. Earlier this year, the corporate regulator reviewed how super funds handle scams and fraud. Banks scored positively on more than 80% of the criteria. Super funds scored between 40 and 60%, while holding $4.3 trillion of this country's retirement savings. Across the banking sector as a whole, the regulator's follow-up found customers wore 96% of all scam losses. The banks stopped 19% of scam payments by value, which means 81 cents in every scammed dollar walked straight out the door. So what happens when you fight it? That depends entirely on who is watching.
The bank wasn't going to reimburse Sarah as the payment was authorised on her phone, so she turned to social media.
This money that was taken included all of my bills money, all of my savings, which I'm saving up for the end of the year.
1.3 million views later, the bank changed its mind. That is the system, not a rule, a lottery. The pensioner in Melbourne got his $40,000 back the afternoon a television crew rang his bank. The young woman got hers back after a video went viral. Everyone who did neither got nothing. Take it to the Ombudsman and you meet the same wall. Last year, the Financial Complaints Authority received 6,200 scam complaints, and the average loss being claimed was $30,333. In one published case, a woman transferred $730,000 to a fake solicitor's account before a property settlement. Some of it was clawed back. The Ombudsman was sympathetic and awarded her nothing because her bank had not broken any law or code. Read that again. The bank followed its process. That was the end of it.
The use and abuse of AFSLs, which is a system designed to protect investors, is clearly being abused by criminals in order to basically steal money from people.
I regarded myself as a reasonably sophisticated investor. And if I can get taken to the cleaners by these people.
Now here is the number I have been holding back, and it is the reason this video exists. On the 7th of October 2024, Britain stopped arguing about it. Its payments regulator made reimbursement compulsory. If you are tricked into sending money, your bank pays you back, up to £85,000 within 5 business days, with the cost split between the bank that sent it and the bank that received it. In the 15 months that followed, British banks paid back 89% of every pound lost, £243 million. 82% of claims were closed inside 5 working days. Under the old voluntary arrangement, the figure had been 65. The banks warned it would make people careless. It did not. Around 3% of claims were knocked back for carelessness, and the number of scams actually fell, because once the bank is on the hook for it, the bank starts stopping them. Australia was asked to do the same thing.
Aussie banks are now facing demands to boost their fraud prevention and adopt a UK-style model of reimbursement for scam victims.
I can't trust anything anymore.
You should be ensured that your money is kept safe, and if it's not, then you should be reimbursed.
We did not get it. Australia's answer is the Scams Prevention Framework, a law passed last year that puts obligations on banks, telcos and social media platforms, backed by penalties of up to $50 million. It sounds strong. Read the timing. The rules do not start until the 1st of September this year. The obligations that actually bite do not apply until the 31st of March 2027. And you cannot lodge a scam complaint under the framework until that same date. More importantly, read what it does. Under this framework, you are not repaid because you were robbed. You are repaid only if your bank failed to take reasonable steps. If it warned you, monitored the payment, and followed its procedure, it owes you nothing, no matter what it cost you. In May, Treasury proposed one softener: automatic repayment of verified losses under $3,000. $3,000. The average loss walking into the Ombudsman is $30,000.
We're calling for new rules to place obligations on banks and firms to detect scam transactions, prevent them, and importantly, reimburse blameless victims.
3 ways this runs from here, and you should know which one you are betting on. The best case. The automatic repayment threshold survives. The banks lose the argument, and Australia drifts toward the British rule over the next few years. Name checking is already live across 83 institutions and 143 million accounts, and one bank alone reported 450,000 payments abandoned after a name mismatch. That technology works. The realistic case. The $3,000 threshold gets trimmed or qualified during the consultation that closed in June. The framework starts in March 2027, and everything above $3,000 stays exactly what it is today. A case-by-case argument you have to win. The worst case. Nothing binding on repayment survives at all. The obligations become a compliance exercise. Every bank documents its reasonable steps, and the 96% stays 96% while the losses keep climbing. So let me name it plainly, because the polite version of this story has been told for years and changed nothing. This was a choice. Britain looked at exactly the same problem, with exactly the same banks arguing exactly the same objections, and decided the institution holding the money should carry the risk of losing it. Australia looked at the same evidence and walked away from it, and decided you should carry the risk instead. Not the criminal, you. Your bank did not fail to protect Gordon Layton or Michael Walton or a 95-year-old woman's $1.6 million. It was never required to. That is the answer to the question you have been carrying since the first minute of this video. 2 cents in the dollar is not a failure of the system. 2 cents in the dollar is the system working precisely as it was designed. Your life savings are the only asset you own that can be legally taken, in daylight, in 90 seconds, and lawfully never returned. The bank keeps its license. The regulator keeps its report. You keep the loss. Here is where it lands. More than $2 billion a year, over a quarter of it out of the pockets of Australians over 65, and a repayment rate somewhere between 2 and 5 cents in the dollar, against 89 in Britain. The rules that might change that do not bite until March 2027, and even then, they repay you only if your bank got something wrong. So until then, protection is not something you are given, it is something you build. 5 things, and each one takes an afternoon at most. 1. Split the money. The single most damaging feature of every story in this video is that one login reached everything. Keep your day-to-day account at one institution and your savings at another, with no linked transfer between them. A stranger who gets into one then cannot empty the other. 2. Put a hard cap on your own transfers. Ring your bank or open the app and lower your daily transfer limit to something you would actually spend in a day. Most Australians never touch this setting and leave it sitting in the tens of thousands. Lowering it costs nothing and takes 10 minutes. 3. Check your superannuation account today and turn on every verification step it offers. Ask the fund directly what it requires before it will roll your balance out to another fund. If the answer is a form and a phone call, that is your warning. 4. Make one rule and never break it. Nobody legitimate ever needs you to act in the next 5 minutes. Not your bank, not the tax office, not the police. Hang up, find the number yourself on a statement, and ring back. Every story in this video contains the same manufactured urgency. 5. If it has already happened, complain in writing, immediately, and then take it to the Ombudsman. The regulator's own audit found people who lodged a formal complaint were far more likely to be paid than people who simply reported it. That is unfair, and it is also useful. Use it. And tell your family what happened. 1 in 3 people never report it, which is the single biggest reason the criminals keep the money and the banks keep the argument. So tell me below, has your bank ever refused to give back money you lost, and what reason did they give you?